High school was supposed to be simple for me. Keep my head down, get good grades, maybe win a scholarship, and escape the small town trap that swallowed up most kids who didn't know better. I was one of those kids who teachers loved but students barely noticed. My name's Ava Carter, and until the fall semester of senior year, I was invisible. That all changed the day I found a black envelope shoved into the slits of my locker. It wasn't from a teacher or some honor society. The envelope was sleek, no stamp, no handwriting, just a gold wax seal with the letter V pressed deep into it. It felt heavier than it should have, like it wasn't just made of paper, but something. Loaded. Dangerous. I should have ignored it. Should have handed it to the principal. Should have thrown it in the trash. But I didn't. I opened it. Inside was a small black card with gold lettering. Midnight. Southfield. We're black. No phones. No questions. If you're late, don't come at all. My heart raced, but not in a scared way, more like adrenaline. Me? Getting invited to something secret? Was this one of those senior rituals? I had heard rumors since freshman year. The so-called senior prank club supposedly picked a few new recruits every year, quiet kids, smart kids, kids who knew how to stay quiet. The ones no one would suspect. That was me. Later that day, I found myself sitting next to Savannah Myers in chem class. Savannah was the type of girl who made people laugh even when she barely tried. Blonde, perfect skin, always in the front row of every school photo. She was also one of the top seniors and the lead on the cheer squad, not someone who normally looked twice at me. But this time, she did. "You get your letter?" she whispered, a sly smirk curling on her lips. I blinked. "What letter?" She grinned wider. "Good. You'll fit right in." That was it. No explanation. Just that one line, and she turned her attention back to balancing equations like we hadn't just exchanged the most cryptic sentence of my life. That night, I paced my bedroom for an hour trying to decide whether or not to go. My mom was on her third night shift of the week, and my little brother had fallen asleep in front of the TV. No one would notice if I slipped out. So I did. Wearing black jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers, I crept out the back door and cut across the neighborhood towards Southfield. It was a wide, flat piece of land behind the school's old gym, unused, overgrown, and supposedly haunted after a fire in the 80s burned down the original school building. When I got there, I almost turned around. A circle of students, all in black, stood in silence. Their faces were barely lit by the flickering of what looked like real torches, like something out of a medieval movie. There were at least 20 of them. I recognized a few. Jason Mallory, captain of the baseball team. Clara Wen, student body president. Even Mr. Franklin, one of our guidance counselors, stood behind them with his arms crossed. It wasn't just students. Savannah stepped forward, her face half shadowed by torchlight. "Ava Carter," she said clearly. "You showed up. That's step one." What is this?" I asked, trying to sound calm, but my voice cracked. Savannah tilted her head. "You've heard the rumors. This isn't some childish prank club. It's the Vanta Society. We run things here. We decide who wins elections, who gets into college, who walks graduation stage, and who doesn't." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Okay. Sure. And you guys also control the Illuminati?" Savannah stepped closer, her eyes cold now. "You think prom queen is just a popularity vote? That scholarships go to whoever applies first? Ava, we build futures here, or we destroy them." Jason held up a small black book. "Say the oath." I froze. "What oath?" Mr. Franklin spoke for the first time. "If you want in, you read what's inside. Out loud. In front of us. And once you do, there's no going back." Every part of me screamed to run, to turn around and leave and pretend this was all a fever dream. But a smaller, darker part of me, the one that hated being ignored, being small, being poor, being nothing, that part wanted in. I took the book. The words were short but haunting. Something about loyalty, silence, allegiance, sacrifice. I read them. They clapped when I finished. Quietly, like it was a funeral. Then Savannah stepped forward again and said, "Welcome to the Vonda Society. Your real life starts now." I wish I could say it ended there. That the next morning, I woke up and realized it was all a prank. But the next day, I found a new schedule in my locker, advanced classes, new teachers, all the best. My failing calculus grade had mysteriously vanished. I got bumped to first chair in orchestra. A private college scout emailed me directly about a scholarship I'd never even applied for. It was real. The Vonda Society had power. More power than I could have imagined. And for a little while, it felt amazing. Until the first task came. Until I realized the price of belonging. Until I got caught doing something that could have ruined my life forever. And I finally understood that this wasn't a club. It was a trap. It started small, too small to seem wrong. The day after I took the oath, a black envelope was slid under my desk during fourth period. No one saw who put it there. I opened it and read the note inside. "Take Mr. Benson's laptop after last bell. Bring it to room 314. Door will be open." That was it. No explanation. No threat. Just instructions. Mr. Benson was our AP history teacher, kind, a little scatterbrained, always drinking his weird herbal teas. I liked him. He used to lend me books during lunch. So the idea of stealing from him? It felt wrong. But the same day, something strange happened. At lunch, Savannah strolled up to me with a grin and whispered, "You're getting a full ride to Berkeley. They just called your mom." I blinked. "What?" She nodded. "Told you. Real life starts now. Just follow the instructions." That night, my mom cried when she read the email on our old desktop computer. It was real. A counselor had contacted her, said I was one of the early consideration candidates for a leadership scholarship I hadn't even applied for. I hadn't even told her about the Vonda Society. How could I? But her face glowed with pride. "You deserve this, Ava," she whispered. "You've worked so hard, baby." My chest tightened. The idea of doing something illegal felt like it clashed with the pride I saw in her eyes. But I told myself it wasn't that serious. I wasn't hurting anyone, right? The next day, I did what the note asked. Mr. Benson always left his laptop charging on his desk while he helped students during the final bell rush. I waited until the last kid left, slipped in, unhooked it, and slid it into my backpack. My hands were shaking, and I kept looking over my shoulder like someone might yell or tackle me, but no one did. Room 314 was unlocked just like they said. I walked inside and found Clara when sitting behind a desk, typing away on her own laptop. She looked up, gave me a short nod, and gestured for me to place the device on the table. I did. Clara pulled out a flash drive, plugged it into Mr. Benson's laptop, and started copying files. I saw student names, grade sheets, even staff documents flash across the screen. What are you doing?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Running quality checks," she said calmly. "Some of our teachers need guidance. We make sure they're aligned with our standards." "You're hacking his computer," I whispered. Clara turned to me and smiled. "Call it oversight." When she was done, she wiped the USB, closed the laptop, and handed it back to me. "Put it back before second bell tomorrow. No one will know." I should have walked away then. I should have taken it to the principal. But I didn't. Because the next morning, I found out Mr. Benson had been removed from teaching AP history. The official reason? Personal leave. The replacement? Ms. Strauss, who also happened to be Savannah's aunt. I started noticing more. The kid who always bullied others in gym? Gone. Transferred suddenly. The girl who got the lead in the school play over Savannah the year before. She dropped out of theater after a video of her skipping classes went viral in a parents' group. And every time something like that happened, I saw a black envelope floating somewhere nearby. A flash drive. A camera. A whisper. The Vanta Society didn't just play pranks. They played God. I was given more tasks. Change a teacher's password. Plant a USB in the AV club studio. Switch out a ballot box during the school president vote. All things that could ruin people. But they never asked me to hurt someone physically, yet. One day, I asked Savannah, "Why me?" We were alone in the practice room during lunch. She leaned back in a chair, flipping through an old yearbook. "You're quiet, smart, hungry," she said without looking up. "And you're not from money, which means you're loyal if we give you something to lose." My stomach turned. "So it's blackmail." She looked at me sharply. "It's opportunity. But if you want to walk, walk. Just know that oath you took, it wasn't symbolic. We record everything. You walk, we leak it all. School board, scholarship committees, colleges. You'd ruin my future." "No," she said, standing up. "You would have ruined it the second you broke your word." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to grab my things, run to the principal, confess everything. But I couldn't. They had too much on me. That night, I stayed up staring at the ceiling, wondering how I got here, how I became this person. Then came the day everything spiraled. It was a Friday, and another black envelope waited in my locker. This one had a red seal. Inside was a single instruction. Pull the fire alarm at 11:05 a.m. Science wing. That was it. I panicked. That was a felony in our state. I could get arrested, expelled, ruin my future for good. So I said no. I skipped second period, hid in the art wing, turned off my phone. But at exactly 11:07, the fire alarm still went off. And 30 minutes later, school security pulled me into the main office. They had footage, grainy, black and white, but it showed someone in my clothes, wearing a black hoodie, pulling the alarm. Someone who looked just like me. I sat in the chair across from Principal Decker, frozen. "Care to explain this, Ava?" he asked. "I didn't do it," I said quietly. But my voice sounded hollow. "Useless." Mr. Franklin, the guidance counselor and Vanta Society member, stood behind him. His face was blank. "I'm very disappointed," he said softly. I walked out of that office with a 2-week suspension and a disciplinary record flagged for further review by district board. Just like that, my Berkeley future slipped through my fingers. I texted Savannah. "You set me up." Her reply came back instantly. "You broke your oath. Actions have consequences. Maybe next time, you'll remember who gave you everything." I wanted to throw my phone. I wanted to burn the entire Vanta Society to the ground. But I knew I couldn't beat them alone. Not yet. Not until I figured out who was really in charge. Because Savannah? She was dangerous. But I was starting to think she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Suspended for 2 weeks, grounded by my mom, and silently exiled from most of my friends, I spent those days trapped inside my house, trying to piece everything together. I kept replaying the fire alarm setup in my head. How did they pull it off? How did they make it look like me? And why go that far just to punish me for disobedience? But deep down, I already knew the answer. The Vanta Society didn't tolerate defiance. The night before I was set to return to school, I got another message. Not an envelope this time, just a sticky note slid under our front door. "We can still fix this. Meet at midnight. School library. Come alone." I stood in the hallway holding the note, my fingers trembling. I didn't know if it was a trap or a second chance. But part of me needed to understand, needed closure. I had already lost so much. At that point, I figured if they were going to destroy me, I wanted to look them in the eyes when they did it. So at midnight, I crept out again. The school was locked, of course. But one of the back windows to the A/V room was slightly cracked, like someone had planned this. I climbed through and crept down the dark hallways, phone flashlight dimmed. The library was huge and old, 2 floors with wooden shelves, creaky staircases, and sections barely visited anymore. It smelled like forgotten paper and secrets. Savannah was already there, standing by the old fireplace with a red folder in her hands. "You came," she said softly. I crossed my arms. "If this is another setup." "It's not," she interrupted. "I'm actually here to help you. Because believe it or not, I still like you." I stared at her. "You got me suspended. And you broke protocol. You refused a task. You didn't even ask to negotiate." She stepped forward. "You're good, Ava. Too good to waste. But if you want to stay in this, you need to stop acting like you're still on the outside." "I don't want to stay in this," I hissed. "Then leave. But if you do, don't think we'll let you walk away with what you know." My heart pounded. "I don't know anything." She tilted her head. "No. But you could. And that's enough." I was about to argue when I heard a noise. A creak behind one of the bookshelves. Savannah stiffened. "Someone else is here." We both turned. Out from the shadows stepped someone I never expected. Noah West. Quiet, bookish, always in the corner of the library or sketching in his notebook during lunch. I'd had 2 classes with him and maybe said 10 words to him all year. "I knew it," he whispered, eyes wide. "You're one of them." He looked at me when he said it, like I'd betrayed him. "Noah," I started, but he raised a hand. "I've been tracking this for months," he said. "Every coincidence, every sudden transfer, every mysterious suspension. I knew there was a pattern." Savannah's eyes narrowed. "You need to leave. Now." But Noah didn't flinch. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "Not until I get the proof." He held up his phone. He'd been recording. Savannah lunged, but I stepped in between them. "Stop!" I shouted. "This has gone far enough." Savannah was breathing hard. "If that recording gets out, it's both our lives." Noah looked at me again. "You want out, Ava? Help me. Help me bring them down." For a moment, time froze. I looked at Savannah, her perfect face twisted in anger, fear, and something else. Desperation. And I looked at Noah, this kid who had somehow cracked part of the mystery I'd been drowning in for weeks. Then I made a decision. "Show me what you know," I said. We ran. Savannah screamed after us. But we slipped out through the cracked window and sprinted 2 blocks to Noah's house, hearts pounding. In his room, covered in sketches, newspaper clippings, and string-pin theories, Noah pulled up a hidden folder on his laptop. "There's a sub-level beneath the school," he said. "It was built after the old fire in '83. The district denied it existed for years, but I found the blueprints." He clicked through scanned documents, floor plans, security schedules, old yearbook photos. "It's called Level V. I think that's where they keep the real records. Not just blackmail. Control. Like who gets into what college, whose parents donate, who has dirt on who." My stomach twisted. "And you think I can get in? You've already got clearance. You're one of them. You could walk past their triggers." "I'm suspended," I reminded him. Noah smirked. "Not for long." He handed me a fake ID badge he'd made. The name read, Elena Cross, District Intern. "How did you?" "I'm really good at Photoshop," he said, then added, "and desperate." We stayed up all night planning. I didn't even realize how close we were sitting until our shoulders brushed while leaning over the printer, or how he paused when I laughed for the first time in days. By the time the sun came up, we had a plan. By the end of the week, I'd be back in school. And by the following Friday, I'd be inside Level V. I knew I was risking everything. But I also knew something else. I wasn't just doing this for me anymore. I was going to bring down the Vonda Society, even if it destroyed me. I walked back through the front doors of North Ridge High on a gray Monday morning with my head high and my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear myself think. The district had reviewed my appeal. Mr. Franklin graciously agreed to a reduced suspension. Funny how quickly things got reversed when the Vonda Society snapped its fingers, especially when they wanted to keep me close. But they didn't know I wasn't on their side anymore. I wore the fake intern badge around my neck like it belonged there. Noah had printed it on real laminate using supplies he borrowed from the photography room. He even aged it with a cigarette lighter to make it look scuffed and real. It said I was part of the district's digital archives team. No one questioned it, especially not the guards posted near the boiler room staircase, the one door no student ever walked through. That's where Level V lived. Noah had already mapped out the school's rotation schedules and camera blind spots. I slipped past the last hall monitor during third period and walked straight to the maintenance wing, heart hammering like a war drum. The badge got me through the locked door. Emotion-activated light flickered above a concrete stairwell that smelled like mold and metal. I descended slowly. 20 steps. 30. 40. No signs. No sounds. Just a low hum, like the building itself was breathing. At the bottom was a thick metal door with a biometric panel on one side. I held up my fake badge. It didn't scan, but the panel beeped anyway. Unlocked. Noah had told me they likely used facial recognition for internal IDs and didn't expect intruders. He was right. The door hissed open, and what I saw changed everything. The room was massive, like an underground bunker. Rows of servers buzzed with light. Screens covered the walls, each displaying different school profiles, grade reports, behavioral logs, financial ledgers, even hidden notes about students. There were files on everyone. There were student records marked with tags like influence, high, scholarship priority, yes, controlled, needs pressure, expendable. I opened a drawer labeled incident footage and nearly dropped what I found. There was a security footage of me pulling the fire alarm, but when I opened the raw file, I saw it had been doctored. Frame by frame edits, added hoodie, altered timestamp. I could prove I was innocent. I looked through the database, shaking. Every single scandal, expulsion, and accident over the past 5 years fabricated, or at least heavily manipulated. The Vonda Society didn't just control school events. They controlled reality. Even worse, they had footage of other students being blackmailed, girls in locker rooms, private therapy notes stolen from counselor sessions, recordings of parents arguing about money. Everything. Then I saw my name. Carter, Ava status. Watched asset potential, high risk/high reward. And under it, a note written by Savannah herself. Maybe slipping. Monitor closely. If disloyalty is confirmed, proceed with social and academic isolation. Revoke scholarship ops. Leverage family financial records if needed. My knees nearly buckled. They had planned it all. The scholarship, the classes, the fire alarm setup. Even my mom's income report was in there. They were going to ruin me the second I tried to run. Suddenly, the lights shifted. Someone else had entered the floor. I ducked behind a server tower and held my breath. Footsteps echoed on the polished concrete. Heels. Savannah. She stood near the central desk, typing in commands on the main terminal. I watched her eyes flick over the screen, calm, cold, calculating. I know you're in here, Ava, she said softly. I froze. I gave you a chance to stay in this. I tried to protect you. But now you're poking around in things you don't understand. I stepped out. I understand enough, I said. I know you control people. I know you ruin lives. She sighed. You think I started this? What? Savannah turned to me slowly. This isn't mine, Ava. I inherited it. The Vonda Society has been running this school since 1986. My brother led it before me. And before him, his coach. You think it's some silly student cult? We answer to alumni, board members, parents, politicians. This is bigger than us. I shook my head. So you're just a puppet. No, she said. I'm a survivor. And if you want to make it out of high school with anything intact, you need to stop fighting the tide and start swimming with it. I step closer. Or I expose it. She laughed. To who? The cops? You think anyone's going to believe a broke girl who pulled a fire alarm and got suspended for hacking? Your record's already compromised. We did that. Your credibility is ours now. My heart sank. She was right partially. But I had the footage now. I had screenshots, raw files, names. I met her eyes. I'm not scared of you anymore. Savannah tilted her head. You should be. She lunged for the terminal to trigger the lockdown. I reacted without thinking, rushing forward and grabbing her wrist. We struggled, knocking into the desk. A drawer popped open, revealing a keycard. I grabbed it and sprinted. She shouted something behind me, but I didn't stop. I ran up all 40 steps, through the door, and out into the daylight. I had what I needed. Proof. Evidence. And the beginning of the end for the Vanta Society. But I also knew they wouldn't go down without a fight. Because now they weren't just watching me. They were coming for me. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. Not when I knew they'd be watching. Not when I had evidence tucked into a flash drive hidden deep in my sock, and screenshots backed up to an anonymous Google Drive Noah helped me set up. Instead, I met him at the old water tower on Millstone Hill, our fallback spot in case everything went sideways. He was already there, pacing, eyes wide with panic. You made it, he bricked. Holy crap, Ava, I thought. They know, I said. Savannah saw me. She tried to lock me inside level V. Noah's face drained of color. Jesus. I showed him the flash drive, still warm from my hand. Everything's on here. All of it. They're not just manipulating students. They're spying on teachers, faking transcripts, blackmailing parents. It's way bigger than we thought. He sat down on the concrete step, overwhelmed. So, what do we do now? Go to the police? I hesitated. That was the plan. But the deeper I'd gone, the more I realized this wasn't just a school thing. It was a network. If Savannah was right, and this society had alumni, then they'd have people in the district office. Maybe even the cops. I couldn't just hand it over and hope for the best. So we did what Gen Z does best. We went online. Noah created a burner TikTok and posted a short clip using the audio from Level V, the doctored footage of me pulling the fire alarm, side by side with the original timestamp files showing it had been faked. He blurred the faces but left enough detail for anyone familiar with the school to understand what was happening. Then we uploaded the rest to a hidden website. An archive with documents, notes, videos, recordings. Then, we waited. The first message came in 30 minutes later. From a junior I barely knew. They did this to my sister too. 2 years ago. She got expelled for something she didn't even do. Then another. My dad works for the board. He's always told me to play nice with Savannah. I thought it was just politics. Holy crap. And another. By morning, it was everywhere. The story hit Reddit, then Twitter. Then a local journalist picked it up. By lunchtime, kids were walking out of class, holding printed screenshots. Parents started calling the front office, demanding answers. Teachers refused to take attendance. Emails were leaked. Staff started quitting. And Savannah? Gone. She didn't show up to school. Neither did Mr. Franklin. But later that day, I got an email from an encrypted address. It had no message, just a link to a photo. Savannah. Sitting in a boardroom. Smiling. The caption read, "You think you won? This isn't over. It never ends. We're just moving up." I stared at the screen, numb. She was right about one thing. This went far beyond high school. But something had changed. They weren't in control anymore. We were. The school board launched a full investigation. Level V was sealed off by the county. The data Noah and I exposed triggered 3 resignations, 6 suspensions, and a massive overhaul of student privacy protocols. Some called us heroes. Others told us to lay low for a while. My record? Cleared. My scholarship? Reinstated. But it didn't feel like victory. Not exactly. Because even though we'd exposed Devon to society, I knew in my gut that someone, somewhere, was already building something new, something darker, smarter, harder to trace. And they'd remember my name. Sometimes, I still get messages from anonymous accounts. Some saying thank you, some warning me, and sometimes threats. Noah and I still talk, though not as much anymore. We got close, really close, during those insane weeks. But after it all blew up, we both needed space to figure out who we were outside of the chaos. Outside of being whistleblowers. Heroes. Survivors. I still see him in the library sometimes. Still sketching. He always smiles when he sees me. We don't need words. We know what we survive. As for me, I've kept the original flash drive. Not because I want to use it, but because I want to remember. I want to remember what it cost me to matter. To be seen. To fight back when every voice told me to stay silent. And if someday, someone like Savannah rises again, I'll be ready. Because now I know. The scariest monsters don't hide under beds. They wear Letterman jackets. Sit next to you in class. Smile with perfect teeth and whisper things like, "It's just a prank." And sometimes, they invite you to midnight meetings in old fields with black envelopes and wax seals. Next time, I won't read the oath. Next time, I'll burn the letter.